Greetings everyone and welcome once again to Storytime with Rob. We're just a few days from Thanksgiving, and so how could I not give a story on gratitude? And you know, sometimes it may be hard to even wonder, why am I even talking? I was chuckling as I was reading this that I wrote just a couple of days ago about gratitude, and it's 2020, and I had to laugh. But often gratitude is looked at as being thankful for things we have or for things people have done for us in our lives. I was thinking about this and have created my list of things for you to review if ever you feel life is just a little too hard, or if possibly self-pity starts to creep in. Besides, this list makes being grateful a lot more interesting. Please consider the following. Ingrown toenails. Are they the worst thing ever? Every step, every walk. Canker sores. Is there anything worse than a canker sore when you're trying to eat or drink something? Hitting your thumb with a hammer. And the only thing I can think of that's worse than that is if it's a really super cold day and you hit your thumb with a hammer. Giving birth to a child. Now, I've never done that before, but I've been with my wife who's done it 6 times. I can tell you, it's not the most pleasant thing in the world. While sleeping one night, we heard this terrible noise come from the other room. We ran into my daughter's room where she had thrown up all over her bed, the floor, and the rug. I'm not sure what was worse, having to clean it up or the smell of it as we did clean it up. All I know is that I was thankful that it wasn't me that threw up. And quite honestly, I think it was my wife that actually had to clean it up. Anyway, spraining your ankle. You know that feeling just as it gives? It's horrible. Biting into an apple and finding only half of a worm. Tiny, dark, crawly spaces under houses with lots of spiders. Not my favorite thing. Mosquitoes at night buzzing in your ear as you're trying to sleep. And the worst part of that is when they actually stop buzzing. Or how about this one? A friend of mine went camping, and in the night when she awoke, she reached over on the shelf for her eye drops, but did not realize until after she had placed a drop in her eye that she'd actually grabbed her bottle of super glue. Yep, true story, which was on the shelf next to the eye drops. As you can imagine, the pain was immense, and as a result, she almost went blind in that one eye. I'm not sure many things could be much worse than that. Finally, what about Aaron Ralston? You remember that guy? He's the one that was climbing down in southern Utah and got his arm wedged between a boulder, could not get it out. He was all alone and tried for hours to break it loose with no luck. He knew he had to do something drastic, and so he took out his own pocket knife and proceeded, if you can imagine this, to cut off his own arm to free himself from the 800-pound rock. Now that seems pretty extreme, but man, I am so grateful that I don't have to deal with that. After all, it is 2020, who knows? And of course, as you know, nothing can bring us down more than the loss of a loved one, a friend, a parent, a family member, or spouse. These truly can be some of the most difficult and gut-wrenching times we may ever experience in this lifetime. How do we find hope at times such as these? When everything seems to be crumbling down around us with despair and discouragement, where do we turn and what can we do? I was reading from the book Standing for Something by Gordon B. Hinckley, and in it he says this: "It's been my pleasure to meet and mingle with some of the gifted and influential men and women of the 20th century, but I have also walked on narrow and dirty streets where filth, poverty, and degradation abound. I've walked among the poor of the earth, the underprivileged who live constantly with gaunt figure of hunger. I've been on the streets of Calcutta and witnessed the stifling, choking grasp of poverty that holds millions in its relentless clutch. I will never forget visiting an orphanage in southern India. My wife and I both struggled to hold back tears as we looked upon tiny abandoned babies lying on wooden slats, undernourished and with little chance for life, let alone hope for a future. These experiences have made me all the more aware of the bounties we enjoy in this land. We are truly a blessed people who live in a marvelous time in the earth's history and who enjoy a magnificent land overflowing with privileges and opportunities. Although we acknowledge that far too many people live at the edge of survival, we must still admit that never before in the history of the world has a nation or a people enjoyed such riches and liberties. My wife and I, we went to pick up my son. We took some of our kids with us to Cambodia to pick him up from his church mission. He'd been there for 2 years. And while we were there, we were traveling on a bus for about 5 or 6 hours to Angkor Wat. And there was a lady crammed in this bus. We were all smashed in the back, sitting next to my son in the corner of the bus. And she was a grandmother, older, and she had a little tiny grandbaby that couldn't have been more than a couple months old, maybe a little older. She was taking this bus 5.5 hours to the only doctor that she could get into to look at this baby. The baby was completely lethargic and really didn't look good at all. And yet the mom had to work, so they'd saved up money for her to travel. They probably only had enough just for the bus ticket, probably not having any idea where she was going to eat or how she may even get back. And as I was watching this, I reached into my pocket and gave my son some money to give to her. And as you know, money is worth a lot more there. The look on her face as she took this money, knowing that she would have a return trip home, that she wouldn't have to worry about where her next meal came from, that she would even have a place to stay, was more gratifying to me to be able to do that than probably it was for her. And I think about that all the time, and I wish I would have just given her more. For all this and much more, we should be grateful. And we ought to express our gratitude daily in countless ways to each other. To our parents and our other family members who have contributed so dramatically to our lives. To friends who have given us the benefit of the doubt again and again. To all around us, and especially those who have gone on before us, who gave everything so that we can have a better life. Gratitude is a sign of maturity. It's an indication of sincere humility. It's a hallmark of civility. And most of all, it is a divine principle. I doubt there is anything in which we more offend the Almighty than in our tendency to forget His mercies and to be ungrateful for that which He has given us. I'm so grateful for clean water, fresh air, the fact that I can push a button to cook and to turn on a light switch. Heat, cold, entertainment, unimaginable that we can push a lever and not only does clean, fresh water come out of the nozzle, but if we patiently wait a minute or two, it gets hot. We can climb in and clean our entire bodies. I can talk, text, or email just about anyone in the world from the comforts of my own home. I can enjoy the outdoors or go to the grocery store and pick up from who knows how many different fruits or vegetables, meats, produce, dairy products. I can then load them into my truck and drive them home. I am most grateful for my beautiful wife, mother of 6 amazing kids, and those 6 amazing kids and their spouses and our grandkids, and a mother and father who loved me and always looked after my best interest before their own. I'm also thankful for our freedoms, even though at the moment many are in some ways in jeopardy. Don't ever take for granted any of those freedoms. The next time you're feeling down and depressed, just look up at and appreciate the beautiful sky, the trees, the birds, the wind. No, not the wind. I don't like the wind. Sorry I mentioned the wind. Nothing good happens when it's windy. I just want to leave you with this challenge for this coming Thanksgiving in a couple days. In the next couple days, I want you to make a list of those in your life that you may be most thankful for. Could be a family member or friends or maybe even an old school teacher or an employer. I want you to call, text, or email them and tell them, yes, I actually want you to call them and tell them that they actually made a difference in your life and the life of others. This may be just the greatest thing that you will do in someone's life all week. Do not let another day go by without telling them how you feel. These are truly the best things in life, and honestly, the only things that we can really take with us in the next life is our relationships, our experiences, and the knowledge that we gain here while we live. Oh, and they will never, ever forget it. And you will leave with them a warm, fuzzy feeling inside your belly before you fill it up with turkey. I love you all. Hope you have a great evening. And until tomorrow, be safe.